There was a recent debate which I thought was very, very interesting between Ben Habib, the classic Ben Habib, and Yasmin Alibhai Brown, that caustic personality that we see all of the time, and writer, etc. But Yasmin is fast becoming the Narinder of TV, because everyone's sick of Narinder now, but Yasmin has replaced her as the most angry person from the left of politics. And I thought this little discussion you're about to watch here was perfectly indicative of the direction that the country is going in. There has been a sharp change in direction. There's a change in tone, a changing attitude, and I think it's absolutely brilliant.
As far as illegal migration is concerned, this is perhaps the best optical evidence of a failing nation state, a state that simply can't enforce its borders. It wishes to go abroad and have interventions in foreign countries and make the case for intervening in Ukraine and fighting Putin and so on and challenging Iran and etc., but incapable of enforcing its own borders. The basic principle of security for the United Kingdom has been set aside. And as I say, it's the most optically sort of alarming vision of a failing state. We have to stop illegal migration into this country. It has to be stopped for the sake of those trying to come here, but most of all for civil society in the United Kingdom. And the only way to do it, and people find this unpalatable, but the only way to do it is to enforce our borders. Borders are not a theoretical line that define the United Kingdom. They are an absolute must from a constitutional perspective. And the only way ultimately you can enforce your borders is physically. So we must do what the Belgians did, which is develop a capable body of people with all the right equipment, with the right boats, drones, intervening devices and so on, to stop the boats in the channel and make sure they go back to France. There is no antidote to physical border enforcement. It is the only thing that will work.
Reasoned, logical, carefully thought out position, all of which sounds completely normal to somebody like me. Yes, everything that Ben just said there was the meaning of the nation state, the meaning of sensible nationalism, not based upon race or skin colour, but based upon culture and history, and a shared sense of community of what British values really mean, and protecting this nation that we have called Britain. And then, of course, from that rational reason debate, we get into screeching antagonist mode.
Oh, maybe we should shoot them. Maybe we can have a new hunting sport, Ben. You have a background, a migration. Let me remind the people listening.
Yeah.
You're as brown as I am. Though I know
quite as brown as me.
Yours is artificial. Well, so never forget who you are. Secondly, you've had your day. I'm speaking now.
What's my ethnicity got to do with protecting the civil society
because that is your heritage. And if there had been people...
So you're saying I should let foreigners into this country because I'm...
Stop.
No, but it's a fundamentally flawed principle on which you're arguing.
You can come back when she's made a point.
Can you be polite?
I was being polite.
No, you're not. No, be polite and let me speak. We never hear, it's so convenient, right, to blame those people on boats whom we never see, we never hear. They're not on these programmes. Their stories are never told. And one thing I do agree with Ben, sort of, will you stop behaving like a hooligan and let me speak?
They're coming from France.
We could try and understand how our overseas interventions have resulted in some of this. A lot, I think somebody told me, a migrant group told me, 68% of the boats are coming from Libya, set off from Libya. Who destroyed the state of Libya, tell me, and made it into a complete basket case? Who did it?
Gaddafi.
No. Under him, like him or not, the state functioned. He did not have boats coming into Europe from there. So we go in, like we did with Afghanistan, like we go into Iraq.
There's not a single British soldier in Libya.
No, the intervention, when they got rid of Gaddafi, nobody planned anything. Cameron was in charge then. They did not think.
And the Libyans
what you then do is you leave these failed states. Afghanistan is another one, turned away. So don't do those interventions if you don't want consequences. And secondly, at least listen to some of the people on the boat. Not all of them are illegal criminals who are coming here to destroy our borders. I've talked to when Syria was in a bad way, I talked to 3 Syrian mothers who had tiny babies, and I said to them, why did you do this? You know, you knew you could die, the babies would die. And they said, we have no choice. So at least some of them...
They did have a choice. They could have stayed in France.
Well, they had family here. That's the thing. So we need actually, to use Ben's very polished words, joined up thinking. We need to know where these illegal migration, and like with Albanians, I had no problems. That once we knew they were using the system, I have no problems with sending back the Albanians, because there's no reason for them to come here. But, you know, for God's sake, have some compassion for those people who have nowhere to go.
You're as brown as I am. Never forget who you are. It's funny, isn't it? That when people from the left start to lose the argument, as we're seeing all over the media now, everybody, even people from the Labour Party, are starting to recognise that this isn't going to work. Everybody understands the true nature of mass migration now, and Yasmin has been preaching these stupid arguments for decades. If you've ever been a fan of Sunday morning questions, the big questions with Nicky Campbell, you might remember that. I used to quite like that on a Sunday morning, and people like Yasmin were there with their sweet voices and preaching mass migration for decades. And only now they're starting to lose the argument, and people like Yasmin are starting to get really angry. Yasmin bases her whole argument there upon race. You're a brown person, I'm a brown person, so therefore we should be agreeing, and because you're brown, why are you arguing against mass migration? So how, as a white person, do I compartmentalise that information? Do I act the same as Yasmin? Do I be as angry as Yasmin?
But I hope you never get power, Ben. I hope you never, in your lifetime, being the kind of unsympathetic, ungenerous soul that you are, I hope you never get power. I've never been this angry on this show.
Yasmin.
The way you talk about human beings is atrocious.
The nation-state of the United Kingdom itself faces an existential threat as a result of the policies being pursued by government. The government
we are doing fine. They said that when we came. Shall I tell you, when Ugandan nations came, this was the same language used. And do you know how many Americans have come into our country in the last 6 months? Do you know how many Americans have entered our country and are living here and working here?
No, tell me.
Go check the figures. Go check the figures.
Well, how many?
Huge numbers.
Well, how many?
But
you're asking him how many.
No,
You've got to tell me how many.
No, I'm just saying there's a vast influx.
So Yasmin's record surge of US applications for UK residency over the past 12 months is a grand total of 6,618. It has sharply gone up from the year before and the years before, but this is all due to work. Americans, by and large, are not coming to the UK. People in Mississippi have a better standard of living, 2 or 3 times better than the people of this country. America has very, very cheap energy. It has a booming economy. Its wages are far higher than the UK. There's no reasons for Americans to come to Britain because we are in decline. It's that straightforward. And it's terrible to say that. This is my country, but it's the truth. And we have to be truthful with ourselves. If we can't be truthful with ourselves, what's the point? Americans, by and large, would not choose to come and live in the UK. Obviously, Yasmin. Absolutely ridiculous. And the reason she didn't want to say the number was because it sounds so small. But I think within what she was saying there, you caught it. This nation, Mr. Habib said, this nation, and you got the look to the sky and the eye roll. What does this matter about your nation? Oh, God. Not talking about the nation again, are you? This woman is an open borders lunatic. She talks nonsense. She's been talking nonsense for decades. And you see in that interview the mood that changed. Iain Dale there just throwing basic questions, and she stutters and doesn't know how to react. She's been getting away with talking nonsense for decades, and only now is she being challenged on this stuff. That's how scared we've been to challenge the narrative. The narrative that people like Yasmin and other Guardian people and other left-wing woke type people have been projecting for decades. They've been shutting people down. You talk about it, then they get a little bit angry, and then everyone quietens down. Oh, I better not say that if that's how polite society is going to work. But now the genie's out the bottle. Basic questions, and she falls flat on her face because there is no real logical argument towards destroying your own country for the sake of an open borders ideology that clearly is never going to work. And when the nation is brought up and you get the eye roll as if, oh God, you're not talking about this, she's out of date. It's a 20th century argument. The whole nation has moved on. And I think one of the things that I thought after watching that was, people like Yasmin have been getting angry for a long time, and everyone on the right of politics has been coming up with really clever arguments and really sensible ways to project this, and all the time coming across as these bastions of philosophy. Well, that time is going, and that time is over. It's time now for us to start getting a little bit angry. It's time now for people to find their courage and say, you know what, this is a stupid argument and you're a stupid person. I'm not putting up with this. I don't agree with anything that you're saying, and I'm not going to come up with polite, clever, philosophical arguments and reasoned judgments to show how intellectually clever I am. I'm just going to tell you, you're talking absolute rubbish and I'm sick of it. Just like I'm sick of people like Yasmin. I think that was a brilliant debate, and I think it shows the general direction has completely changed. We're entering into a new time and a new narrative, and it's long overdue in my opinion. Thanks very much for your time.